In today's golf lesson, I'm going to talk you through the basics, the fundamentals, the really important part of your setup to ensure you're in the right position to hit some good golf shots. Because I see so often people coming into my lesson bay, whether they are beginners, brand new golfers, high handicappers, and even low handicappers, who are making some really simple mistakes in the way they are addressing the golf ball. And ultimately, that's going to create the golf shot, or definitely influence quite heavily the golf shot that you're about to hit. And if this is your first time watching, my name is Tom Fearon. I am PGA professional here down at Trafford Golf Centre, and I post videos on YouTube for you to help your game every Monday and Thursday. So please do like and subscribe for more lessons just like this one. So what I'm going to talk you through in this lesson, we're going to go through three things. We're going to talk about the way you hold the club, so the grip, which is arguably the most important part of a golf swing. If you aren't holding the club functionally, you're going to really struggle to make an effective golf swing. And then number two, we're going to talk about aim and alignment. And trust me, those two things are completely different. I always split aim up into aim versus alignment. And then number three, we're going to talk about posture and setup, which is going to take us through your width of stance, how your sort of back should be structured, your distance from the ball. And then the final little tip is just going to be about ball position and how that's going to change throughout your bag. So gripping the golf club, like I've just said, so important, and so many people getting it wrong. So how do we grip the club? What should we look for? Why is it so important? And that's the big question. Why is it so important? Ultimately, this grip is like the steering wheel of the golf club. If I turn that grip to the left, the club face is going to turn left. If I turn that steering wheel or grip to the right, the club face is going to turn to the right. And that leads us on to this being the main controller of where your golf ball goes. If you come into impact and your club face is open, you come into impact and your club face is closed, that ball's going to go in different directions. The idea is that we get this club coming back to impact, aiming straight towards the target, and the way you hold the club is going to influence that heavily. So let's go through a couple of checkpoints. A couple of things we're going to look for. I'm going to do all this from a right-handed golfer's perspective. If you're a left-hander, just flip it around. So when I'm talking about my left hand, you're going to do it with your right hand. When I'm talking about my right shoulder, which I'll be talking about, you're going to think about your left shoulder. So for the right-handed golfer, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to look to place the golf club into our fingers. So if I come up nice and close there, we see that that golf club is running diagonally across my fingers. Really important that you're not trying to hold this club in the palm of your hand. So once we have it in the fingers, we're just going to let our fingers wrap around underneath the golf club, and then we're going to let our thumb just come over onto the opposite side of the club. So my left thumb is sitting slightly on the right hand side of the club. So if there was a line running straight up the center of this club, it goes just onto the inside of my thumbnail there. Big common mistake I see is people thinking that they should have their thumb running straight down the middle of the golf club. We would call that a weak grip. So just a little more over the top, sitting onto the right side. Now, what I see is I can see these two knuckles, okay? So as I look down, I'm not going to start to move my head again when I say to people, how many knuckles can you see? I start to see them peering around the corner from your head being square. Two knuckles on top of the grip. And then I mentioned I'm going to talk about my right shoulder. This V shape, this crease, points up towards my right shoulder there, meaning it's in the appropriate place. Once that hand is set, we're going to bring the right hand in. We're going to just place, again, the fingers underneath the golf club. Don't start placing the palm on. Don't start wrapping the palm under the club. Just the fingers wrapping underneath the golf club. And we're going to let our right hand just fold and settle over that left thumb. When it settles over that left thumb, you can see now there's not many gaps. I haven't sort of got that thumb all the way down there. Everything just settles in nicely. Everything's really tight, and we are good from there. And now we've got options, and this is all about how we hold the club with our fingers at the back. And you can see there that I've got my 8 fingers kind of lined up from bottom to top. But what I think I would like most golfers to do is start to create an interlock grip, or at least an overlap grip. So an overlap grip is where we lift the little finger of our right hand and then we just overlap it over the finger of our left hand. If I bring that nice and close for you, you can see there I have overlapped that little finger and just into the slot in between these two fingers here. Now, I would say from experience, from all the golf lessons I've taught, most people find that one very uncomfortable. So what I would suggest is more of an interlock, which allows us to lift both of those fingers and cross them over instead. So we can see now that little finger of the right hand, bigger finger of the left hand are both locked in, okay? So that is probably the most popular, what I would like most people to do. A lot of beginners will probably hold it like this with the 8 fingers lined up, but if you can, just go and get those locked into place. So now, final checkpoint, let's just make sure we've got a good grip before we move on. We have got 2 knuckles on the left hand with this crease or V shape pointing towards my right shoulder. We've got on the right hand that V shape again pointing towards the same right shoulder up here. And then when we look at the back, we have got our fingers interlocked. So we're off to a good start. We're holding the club correctly, but we've still got to do the hard part of aiming in the right direction. We've still got to make sure we try and get the ball somewhat on target, and we've got to make sure that our body is in a position that it can move efficiently and athletically to make us create a faster golf swing. So let's talk aim and alignment first of all. And the first thing I said before was I do split those two things up, aim and alignment. So there's only one thing you can aim, and you can aim the club face. So I'm just going to use a magnet to demonstrate this, okay? And wherever that golf club is facing, that is where our golf club is aiming, okay? We can't aim the golf ball. We can't aim our feet. We can't aim our shoulders. And they're all things that I hear people say all the time. There's only one thing, in my opinion, that we can aim, and that is the club face. And that should come first when we're talking about aim and alignment, because that's the most important thing that's going to influence the direction the golf ball goes. So when you're setting up to the golf ball, the first thing I want you to do when you've got that good grip is I want you to just place your club behind the ball, a little closer than I am now, but I've got that magnet on there just to demonstrate to you where the club face is aiming. And what I'm going to want you to look for is that the face of the club is looking straight down towards your target, okay? That means you have aimed correctly. One big mistake I would generally see is people coming to line their feet and shoulders up first and kind of maybe try and aim the shoulders towards the target before they place the club down, but then they end up aiming the club in the wrong direction. The club face is looking the wrong way, so they are very unlikely to hit the ball towards the target. So I want you to simply do this. I want you to take that grip we just spoke about, and I want you to just come and set yourself up where you point your club face at your target first. Notice I've done nothing with my feet yet. My shoulders are probably quite nicely aligned because I'm facing square onto the ball, but then I'm going to just start to separate my feet. And now what I'm looking for is my feet, knees, hips, and shoulders all to be square to that ball to target line. So if my golf club face is pointing that way, I want to be parallel to that line as well. Okay, so once we've done that, once we're in that setup, that's going to mean that we've got more of a chance, providing we make a decent swing, we've got more of a chance of hitting the ball towards our target. And then third and final, setup. So we're going to kind of split setup into 3 categories. We're going to talk about your posture, we're going to talk about your width of stance, and we're going to talk about your distance from the golf ball as well. So let's talk about that posture first of all. And many of you will sort of hear the word posture and think it's sort of hunchback, and I get people coming in and telling me they have bad posture because they sit at a desk, but in fact when they come in and they're talking to me at the start of the lesson, they're standing quite tall, shoulders are pinned back, they're not hunched over, but as soon as they go to address this golf ball, it becomes a big curving of the back, they get very close, sort of hips sink in, and that doesn't create a very athletic position at all. I'm going to really struggle to rotate my body. So what we want to do instead is look for more of a hinge from the hip. So what I'm going to get you to do is just let your golf club drop on the floor. We don't need that for this part. And I want you to just kind of stand tall, but start trying to tilt forward and push your bum back a touch. So we're hinging from the hips. We have sort of flexed knees. We're not really bent in them. We're not looking like we're about to sit on a chair behind us, but we're also not locked like we're doing that hamstring stretch. What we're doing instead is we have sort of soft flexed knees. We're going to feel like our bum pushes back and we just hinge forward from the hips. And I always find it quite beneficial if I just let my arms hang, because if I let my arms hang, I know I'm hinging forward from the hips, and if I start to stand up too tall or I start to let my knees bend, my hands don't hang into any space, they hang and sit onto my thighs. But if I've got that hinge where I'm tilting out in front of me, I can see my hands going down, almost as if I'm about to pick a box up with that nice straight spine. So once we hinge, we can then get ourselves into a fairly good posture with nice balance, and now I have the ability to start rotating in my backswing. In terms of how much we hinge forward, well, that's going to change because we've got different length golf clubs, so you're going to need a little bit more hinge, a little bit more knee bend if we were getting down to a pitching wedge. We're not going to need so much. I've got a 7-iron in my hand today if we need to get down there, and that leads us into our distance away from the golf ball. And once you understand the way to get into that posture, the way to keep that spine angle quite neutral, what's going to really help us then is just placing the golf club down first again. So common question is, how do I know how far away from the golf ball to stand? And first of all, the golf club tells you a lot of information with this because we have a lie angle. So first of all, we want to set the golf club down the way it was designed to sit. Don't sit it down with sort of the toe up in the air like you can see there. Don't set it up with the heel up in the air as you can see there, because that's going to get me too close and this is going to get me too far away reaching. So make sure the golf club sits behind the golf ball, flush to the floor. The toe of the club should just be very slightly, just like so, off the floor, not this much, just to about there, okay? And then once we are set up with the golf club and we understand how to hinge, we're now just going to allow our hands to hang down. You can see that from that good posture, my arms are hanging straight beneath me. A really good test to make sure that you are the right distance away from the ball is I just want you to take your right hand off and I just want you to let your arms swing just gently. Don't pull it in towards you, just let it swing. And it should be able to very slightly just swing past the butt of the golf club. If you do this and you hit the hand, we're a little bit too close, and if you're swinging it past and there's a load of room in there, then you are too far away. So you should just kind of glance the butt of the golf club and that'll deal with your distance away from the ball. So we've got good posture, we've got good distance away from the ball, and we've got a good grip. So we're on really good tracks now to be able to create an excellent setup. So from there then, ball position, 7-iron in my hand like I said. So 7-iron's going to go just ahead of center, 8-iron, 9-iron pitch and wedge, and any other wedges are going to go dead in the center of your stance. So what we're going to look to do is just set up with your feet close together first of all, almost touching each other, and then you're going to step left and then right. And notice there from that face-on view, I've taken a slightly bigger step with that right foot, meaning this yellow line is ever so slightly biased to the left-hand side. And then as for width of stance, I am shoulder width apart. So if we had lines down from my shoulders there, they would be on the instep of my shoe. Shoulder width apart is a very sort of loose term because you could argue that my feet are shoulder width apart now, but I like to say my shoulders are on the instep of my shoes, and that means I've got good balance, I've got good power, and I've got the ability to really shift my weight and create a good golf swing. So once we've got all of those things, once we create a really good grip, once we get good alignment, we get good posture, we get a good ball position with a good width of stance, I'm now in the position where I can rotate my body and create this really nice athletic golf swing, rather than somebody who's maybe a little bit narrow and a little bit close to the ball and a little bit hunched, and that golf swing can't happen so well. So don't overlook these fundamentals. They're so important to create a good golf swing. And as I said at the start, there's so many golfers who are a good ability, who are maybe playing off 15, 14 really good handicaps, but just can't quite break that barrier, and that's because their fundamentals aren't on point. So go through those checkpoints one more time. I've got that good grip, V-shape pointing to the right shoulder, V-shape pointing to the right shoulder again. I am aiming towards my target, which is the yellow flag in the distance. I'm aligning my shoulders, feet, shoulder width apart, ball position slightly further forward than center, and I am good to make that swing. So guys, go through those checkpoints, figure out which ones you're good at, which ones you're not so good at, and see if you can improve your swing without even trying to move differently, just by setting up correctly. And if you have enjoyed this lesson and it has been beneficial, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said at the start, I will be releasing videos on Mondays and Thursdays every week to help you out with your game. And in the description below, if you want to come and see me at Trafford Golf Centre and I can help you out personally, then just click on the link below, contact me there, and I will see you in the next lesson.